Hello, everyone, and welcome to our channel, Starbase Centaur 4210, along with our partners, the New York Cosplayer Network and the New York City Star Trek Meetup, and Cospod and beyond. So, we're still celebrating the 30th anniversary of Deep Space Nine. Many of our group members, this is our favorite classic Star Trek series. So even though January was so cold and I was working overtime, we had we didn't really have a get together meetup, but we had an online get together, and then we just recently had a little get together to celebrate and give a toast to DS9's 30th. Since we're still in the month of Valentine, we did not want Valentine's month to leave us without us being able to have a fun discussion about some really great, awesome love episodes from Deep Space Nine. So we decided that we would mull over a lot of different episodes that were really awesome, but it's hard to choose from. But we selected five, so we want to share these five episodes with you and the lessons of love that we obtained from these episodes. Okay, so let's get started. So, as you can see from the picture for our discussion, we have like the basic characters from each episode. So let's start with Meridian. Meridian was a really great episode where Jadzia goes to this planet with the crew and they meet these people. They're really awesome. And Jadzia meets this man that has his own series of spots working. And that started the attraction, and they found out they had a lot in common. And then, as normal with a lot of Starfleet officers, they go to these planets, they meet an alien for the first time, they find out they have a lot in common, and then suddenly they're so in love that they're willing to just throw their Starfleet career away and run off into the galaxy with their newfound lover. So, of course, Jadzia falls deeply in love with this wonderful, handsome man and just decides that she wants to no longer be a Starfleet officer and spend the rest of her life with him. The only thing is that his people, they have this weird thing about them. They kind of like stay in corporeal state for a while, and then before you know it, they have to disappear and do this whole non-corporeal thing for about 60 years. So she's in this quandary. What is she going to do? So, of course, being as brilliant as she is, she does all these calculations along with him because he also has this great gift in math. So the two of them are working together side by side to come up with all the calculations. They have the crew involved. Captain Sisko is, willing to help out. He doesn't want to lose his BFF, but, hey, love happens. So he's helping her, and the doctor's helping her, and everyone, Chief, everyone's helping her to try to come up with whatever necessary calculations and great mysterious Star Trek thing has to happen in order for her to be able to go off with him and his people in a non-corporeal state for 60 something years. Well, anyway, they think that they have it, because hey, they're just brilliant, in Star Trek they can just do just about anything. So they think they have all the calculations down and they're ready to go for it. And just when, the people are starting to disappear and leave their corporeal state, what happens? Oh, well, if you've seen this episode, Jadzia does not leave with her lover, okay? She stays in corporeal state. She's almost about to die. And she gets snatched back into the real world. And oh, well, her lover and all his people just go off into their non-corporeal existence. Barbara will only have to be there. So now she's hurt and devastated. And she goes back to the space station and, she wants to be left alone and there's nothing that really can be said. And she's just really hurt. So what do we learn from this episode? What we learn is that time is not always on your side. So if you're in a relationship where you have this kind of situation where you're with someone who maybe based on their job or their profession, or maybe because they work and go to school, you don't have a lot of time to spend with them, hey, you got to make the most of it, okay? Just like Jadzia did, time was of a great significance to them being able to be together, and they made the most of it. So, she spent time away from all her calculations and all of her Starfleet work, and she spent time going out into the park, climbing the tree, doing all these kind of wonderful things she normally doesn't do. And that's what's so important in a relationship, especially when you're with someone who, like I said, because of their career, whatever, they may be in the military, they may be law enforcement, they may be a doctor, they may just, be working to pay off their student loan bills, or they're working a job and a half. Whatever the case is, if you're with someone when you don't have a lot of time to spend with that person, time is not always on your side. So you make the most of it because you never know what's going to happen. You need to be there when a person is busy doing their thing and support them and be there with them. And even if it's not a lot of time you can spend together, make the most of the time that you have. Talk to one another, learn what each other likes to do. And even if it's not something you're interested in doing, still do it with that person anyway, because that will help solidify your relationship and bond you guys together. Okay. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, well, at least you gave it your best shot. So that is a wonderful lesson that we learned from Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Meridian. And we have 4 more to go. So we're going to be popping out the other 4. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're back again. So we discussed Meridian. That was our first love episode. The next one is Second Sight. So for those of you who saw Second Sight, you know what it's about. Our dear captain being alone and being without his first wife that he lost in a horrible way, meets this mysteriously beautiful woman dressed in red from an alien planet who just happened to come up on the space station, walking around, and they talk. And next thing you know, he's attracted to her. She's beautiful, she's fanciful, she's gorgeous, got a great body, and it's just full of life. So he's just attracted to that, and they get to know each other. Only thing is that, there's a lot about her that's really weird. She does these really weird Terry McMillan disappearing act kind of thing. She's there one minute talking to him, the next minute she's gone, and the captain just doesn't understand. He has everyone looking around for her. The next thing you know, she appears and he's falling deeper and deeper in love. But of course, his BFF, Jadzia, is not having it. She's kind of suspicious of what's going on. Then, the next thing you know, in the second side episode, the captain is invited to dinner with a very well known terraformer. And while he's at dinner, he meets the terraformer's wife, who happens to look exactly like this mysterious woman who has no kind of idea where she came from or her family or anything like that. But of course, the captain didn't care, he just fell in love with her. But now he's at this dinner and he sees this woman who looks just like this woman that he's been flaunting with and running all around the station after. And now Jesse is like, okay, we have something we need to talk about, bro. What's going on? Okay. She looks like that girl. So anyway, Captain tries to pull the wife over to the side and said, hey, do you remember me? And she's like, no, I never seen you before. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I've never seen you before. So now the poor captain's in quandary. So once again, Jadzia to the rescue. The captain runs into Finna, that is the mysterious woman, and Nadell is the name of the wife of the terraformer who Finna looks like. So at a meetup in the captain's quarters, Jadzia comes in with a tricorder. She's scanning the young lady and finds out, oh my God, this is a black minuet. Okay, she's just this hologram, like how Minuet was. And next gen, you know who Minuet is. This beautiful hologram that Riker fell in love with. So we have this projection, okay, hologram, who the captain has fallen in love with, and she's not real. And of course, Jadzia is the one to bust her in that kind of situation. She is the one to bring to the captain's attention, hey, I'm your best friend. I'm going to look out for you. And I'm here to tell you that this here woman that you've been running all around the station after is not a real woman. Okay, so what happens now? We find out that Nadell happens to be from a species that can project a whole new entity that looks like a real person and a real humanoid, but actually it's not. It's just they have this ability to do that, which is really cool. When you're depressed and you don't like your life, you can kind of project another entity that is everything that you really want to be that you can't be at that moment. So that's pretty cool. But the downside is that because Nadell is suffering from such depression, she's not happy in her marriage, she's not happy in her life, and she keeps projecting this other image of herself, Finna, who's free-spirited and happy-go-lucky, but it's happening to destroy her insides. Nadell is starting to die. She's really starting to wither away. The more energy she uses projecting this beautiful, wonderful entity known as Finna, okay, the more negative consequences is happening to her. So at the end of the day, the husband finds out that he is the source of his wife's depression, and she comes from a species where they don't believe in divorce. So she would either stay miserable for the rest of her life or keep doing what she's doing and projecting thinner, and at the same time having this effect on her own body that eventually will cause her to die. So the husband, being valiant, decides that his last greatest creation will be his last creation at all. So he wants to free his wife so she can go forward and live her life. So he ends up creating a beautiful thing, but dying in the process. So he brings the planet back to life, but he dies in the process. And in so doing, this frees his wife, Nadell. So at the end of the episode, Nadell asks Captain Cisco, what was Finna like? Okay, because she really doesn't remember. And then Captain Cisco says in his lovingly voice, she was a lot like you. Okay, so she walks off and she's going to go do her thing. What do we learn from this lesson? As Prince would say, all that glitters is not gold. So you may meet someone, and on the outside, they have it together. They look good, they're all that in a bag of chips. Honey dip flip to the side. Hey, everyone's impressed. Everyone's happy for you. But you know something? You really have to be careful out here. There are a lot of fakes and a lot of frauds, okay? I have many friends that have been in and out of relationships, and we all thought that it was just the best thing ever. I've had friends, they had these great marriages, even Star Trek marriages. And I had a few friends that, had like a Star Trek themed marriage or a Star Wars themed marriage, or some had one girl, she had like a fantasy kind of Excalibur marriage. And like, we knew both of them, our network of friends, we knew the both of them while they were dating, and then eventually when they got engaged, and then when they got married. And, they didn't stay married that long, before they realized that it wasn't meant to be. So when I hear things like this happen, when I see things like this happen, it always made me, afraid to think about a long-term relationship because, what if you jump into something, you get excited, and then it doesn't work out. Okay, well, a lot of people say if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think it's really important that, we need to analyze why we're so quick to get into relationships. A lot of us are really quick to get into relationships. It's like as soon as they break up with one person, they have another person on standby, or before the sheets dry, or before the server gets ready to mail in the papers that he just served to your spouse you're divorcing. The next person has a new lover, and it's like some people don't like to be alone, and so they just quickly get into a relationship after just leaving one. I feel everyone needs to have some kind of semblance of space and time before you get into another relationship. You don't want to take those Samsonite luggage from one relationship into another. So we need time to heal. We need time to get into ourselves. We need time to think about what went wrong in the relationship. What was the shortcomings? What can we do different? How can we protect ourselves? And I know a lot of people, sometimes we get in with people that on the outside, everything seems great. They have a good job, they have a career, they drive a nice car. Your mother laughs at their jokes, and it just seems like the person is good to go. And then, next thing you know, you find out something differently. So the lesson that I get from Second Sight is always be careful when you go into something that looks like it's really great and it's everything that you want, because it may not just be, okay? It may not just be what's good for you. Sometimes we don't see, what's really in front of us because we want so badly for something to be a good thing and to be a wonderful thing. And we're lonely and we want to hurry up and get with someone. But, you just have to be careful out here because you don't want to destroy yourself mentally, emotionally, psychologically. And this all can help put up blockages from you getting with someone else that could be the right person from you, okay, the right person for you. So this is a lesson of love that I get from Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Second Sight. That is our second episode, and now we're going to be talking about our third one. All right, everyone, we are back. We are back. Our next wonderful Star Trek Deep Space Nine love episode, we're going to be reviewing and talking about the lesson of love we learned from this episode is For the cause. Okay, so for those of you who again love DS9, For the Cause is that episode where our wonderful captain, after falling in love with a real woman, because first it was Finna, okay, that didn't work out. Then he meets his wonderful freighter captain called Cassidy Yates. So eventually he and Cassidy get to know each other and they start talking command and they start talking missions and everything. And then they find out they have a lot in common. So they begin to get attracted to one another and they eventually fall in love. The only thing is that, Cassidy happens to be working on the side of the Marquis. And this comes out later on in their relationship. And she's been delivering goods to the Marquis, which goes against Federation policy. So, in the end, what happens? Poor Cassidy gets arrested, okay, gets busted and arrested. And the poor captain has to just stand there and watch her get taken away, but she was real good about it. She let her crew go and she came back because she knew she was going to get arrested. So she just let it happen. And she came back because she's still in love, okay? And she has a mission, she has a cause that she, is all about, but she has a man that she loves. So what do we learn from here? Okay, well, sometimes you can fall in love with a revolutionary person. You can fall in love with someone who's out there fighting for a just cause. And sometimes they're going to get arrested. And if they get arrested, or if fighting for their cause or doing whatever they're doing takes them away from you because they've broken some laws or anything like that, what are you going to do? Okay, so this is kind of, a little shout out to those who are in love with people who are in prison. Let's just face it, we have people who are in prison and some folks, have changed their lives or whatever, and some folks have not. Okay. So, but we have a lot of people in prison. I was involved in prison ministry and, I've met people who, yeah, they went to jail, they did some things, whatever, but then they came out and they got their lives together. So I think what's important is that when you're in love with someone who is away from you because they were arrested, or someone who's away from you because they did some things and now they have to be apart from their family and their friends. But let's say they were standing for something that was right. Let's say they were standing for something that they believed in. What are you going to do? Okay. You have to show where your loyalties are. Okay. Some people will not want to be involved with someone who gets arrested. Some people will not want to be involved with someone who's doing anything that will make them not look good in front of the eyes of their family and friends. But hey, you have to make a choice. Okay. Just like Captain Cisco, he made his choice to stand by his woman, even though she got arrested doing what she believed in. Hey, that's the way life is. So, it takes a lot to be in a type of relationship with someone who's arrested or someone who's away from you for whatever reason. They could be involved in a war or whatever, and they're away from you. There's a lot of reasons why someone could be away from you and you're not able to have a traditional relationship with them. But what are you going to do? You have to still try to make it work, right? So one of the things that I love about this episode is that they kept it real. With DS9, they had no problem keeping it real. That was one of the things that kind of made a lot of people uncomfortable with this series because of this element of darkness. It's just not many Star Trek episodes is going to deal with, particularly a Starfleet officer, falling in love with someone who breaks Starfleet's policy and then has to go to jail. So but it is what it is. But it's the real world that we live in. Okay, so what do we learn from here? Hey, you have to make the most of it. So I don't know all what Captain Cisco did, but I'm pretty sure he wrote letters and sent care packages and things like that. So if you're in love with someone who is off someplace where you can't be with them for whatever reason, but particularly if it's something that have to do with them breaking the law or whatever like that, if they're trying to get themselves together, if they are trying to be a better person, then I guess you have to make a decision whether or not you want to give them a chance or you want to just break away and get away from them because you don't have anything to do with them. So that's something that we have to think about when we're in a relationship with someone who is incarcerated. It's not an easy thing, okay? It's a very difficult thing, but we just have to, gauge ourselves based on what we're getting from that person. If they still love you, if they're sorry for what they did, if they're making promises to get themselves together, then hey, I say stand by your lover because that's what it comes down to. People make mistakes, they get involved in things, and then some people end up going to prison because of something that's true. There's a lot of people during the civil rights movement went into prison, okay? Some spent years in jail. Many revolutionaries spent years in jail fighting for what they felt was right for their people. Many revolutionaries have been in prison. So what does that mean? You don't, just turn your back on them, particularly if they're fighting for a just cause. And in this episode, Cassidy felt she was fighting for a just cause. And many, many people had sympathies with the Marquis because they felt that they were fighting for a just cause. So when you're in love with someone who's fighting for a just cause and end up going to prison, hey, you got to decide, okay, is that love and that bond strong enough to have you stand by their side until they come from prison? Or are you just going to run away and says, hey, this is, uncomfortable. This is embarrassing to me and my family and friends. I don't want to be with a jailbird. Hey, you have to decide for yourself, where is your loyalties and is it worth it? And is the love strong enough and is the bond strong enough to make you want to stand by this person while they do their jail sentence? This is a deep thing, a very deep thing. But I hope this lesson of love encourages those of you who happen to be in a relationship with someone who's incarcerated, but you feel that the person is trying to get themselves together and you feel that there's a better future for you too. And I say stand by your lover and see what happens. And may the universe shine on you. Okay, we're going to go to our next episode, so stay tuned. Okay, so we discussed Meridian and we discussed Second Sight and we discussed For the Cause. So our next DS9 love episode we're going to discuss is Fascination. I love Fascination. Fascination was a really great episode because we have, oh God, Counselor Troy's mom comes on the space station and she's going through this whole thing with the women in her planet. They have this moment that they go through where they start to project these great feelings of, you know, um, sensuality and great feelings of attraction. And, it just comes out of them. And then whoever passes by them, it kind of jumps on them. And then next thing you know, you're like falling helplessly in love with someone and you're chasing them down and you're having all kind of, sexual excitement going on inside of you. Can't you really figure out why, but you're just kind of being led that way. So this is what happens when Mama Troy comes on the station, and she, of course, is attracted to Odo anyway. But next thing you know, it's like all these weird type of, attractions start happening, and you have this person attracted to this person. Jadzia was helplessly attracted to Captain Cisco, and then you had Jake helplessly attracted to Nana and Kira. And next thing you know, it was just all these weird attractions going on. So it was a great episode, but what do we learn from this episode? If there's anything that can be learned, I like to say, let's not get hung up in someone else's hang up, okay? So, what do we mean by that? Well, one of the things that, even though this was a funny episode, one of the things that I felt that it did showcase was that you have sometimes in situations where, I know with like a lot of people who are single, they always talk about how, they seem to always be under this pressure to find a relationship. When they go to family get-togethers, everyone's always asking, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? And if they're a woman, your biological clock is ticking. When are you going to have children? So, and then they talk about how sometimes it's so much pressure on them that, a lot of times they'll go ahead and just try to get with someone and get married so that, they can feel like they fit in more with their own family and with their own kind of network of people. And I find sometimes when that happens, a lot of times, it just seems to me that it's a forced thing. And I think if you're being forced, if you feel forced to hurry up and jump in a relationship and hurry up and have a baby and hurry up and do this and hurry up and do that, I question the authenticity of all of that. I mean, is it real love or are you just doing it to, to make yourself look a certain way and be accepted? So, and I find that it's a sort of a hang up when people always seem to want to put a single person under the pressure of, getting married and running out there and getting with someone because, after all, your sisters are married, your brothers are married, what's wrong with you? And so is already on their fourth child. You haven't had one yet, so when I was single, I used to, be in situations where I would get together with singles and we would talk about this kind of thing. So I like to say, don't get hung up in someone else's hang up. So you have some people also that, again, they are afraid to be alone and they're really about always trying to be in a relationship. You never see them without a boyfriend or girlfriend. And they put that kind of pressure on someone who, maybe in their circle who is not that way. They like being to themselves for a while. They're not afraid to be alone. They're not afraid to go places by themselves and do things by themselves. They are not in a rush to just run out here and get someone and, to please other people, to please family, to please whatever, to have that image that I'm successful because it doesn't even matter that I work 2 jobs, put myself to school, and I have achieved some wonderful things. No, I'm successful because I married finally and now I'm pregnant. Or, I'm married and my wife is pregnant. So it comes both ways. I've talked to many single men and women who both, feel sometimes that they're under this pressure to hurry up and get, married and start having a family because that is what you're supposed to do in society. And there's a lot of people who feel, no, I'm not ready for that yet. And I'm going to take, take my time. And it kind of has been some statistics out there that has proven that people are waiting later to get married and like in their 30s and everything, and to get their careers going and everything. And times have changed and people just, they're not rushing to have a lot of children. The economics of the time is such, having two, three, four, five, six, 7 kids is a lot, so 2 or 3, it's kind of like, well, a lot of people can, deal with economically. But, that kind of thing takes great planning, it takes great planning when you talk about starting a family and getting married. And it's not something to rush into, and it's not something to be frivolous about, so you have a lot of people that just, like I said, they put pressure on their single family members to hurry up and get married and to fit this mold of what it truly means to be successful in life. And if that's not you, then hey, don't get hung up in someone else's hang up. Don't rush out there getting yourself quickly attracted to people and quickly getting with people and in the hopes that, oh, this person meets the image that, my family will like. And if I bring this person home, I know I'm going to get a lot of respect from mommy and daddy and auntie and uncle, because this person fits this mold of what they feel that if you're with this type of person, then you're successful. But you have to do what makes you happy. Okay. So, you may get attracted to someone and, you may be under a little pressure, but you have to take a step back. You have to think about things deeply. You have to look deep inside of your own heart and find out what's good for you and do not get hung up in someone else's hang up. Okay. So now we're going to go on to our next DS9 love episode for the month. Okay, so welcome back. So we are going to talk about our last episode on D Space Nine for this month of February, the month of Valentine. We are talking about looking for Parma in all the wrong places. Yes, there's a lot of great lessons to learn from here. So we have said, in the words of the great Pat Benatar, love is a battlefield, because that's all that goes on. In this episode, people are fighting to prove their love. People are fighting with each other about who they love and who someone should love, who someone should not love. So the whole episode is about Worf sees this really great Klingon woman come on the station. Her name is Grilka. She's really hot and everything. And, she used to be married to Quark and she needs help. And so she's coming to Quark for help. And of course, they start to get attracted to each other. But Worf feels that, hey, she can do better than that. Her own bodyguard feels she can do better than that. Her father feels, hey, Worf, you would normally be an okay dude, but your family is like a curse. So you can't mate with Grilker. So anyway, he wants to win Grilka's love, but he can't. So Quark, however, feels, hey, I can still get with her, but I need some kind of help, some kind of Klingon tips on how to, like, really impress this Klingon woman. So what happens is Jadzia and Worf decide to kind of like give Quark some like Klingon lessons and dating and everything like that. And Jadzia also having all this kind of experience with Klingon culture shares her tidbits, So she throws in there, all kind of stories and all kind of, lessons of love and all kind of things to do. And Worf is showing him how to use the bat lift because being that the bodyguard for Grilka doesn't believe that she should be with Quark, he now wants to challenge Quark to a fight. So this is what they do. So in order to prepare for the fight, Quark takes these batlift lessons from Worf, but now the whole time this is going on, Jadzia has always been attracted to Worf, and she's been giving him these little hints, but he's not hearing it because he's just all about Grilka. So and she makes statements like, well, at least Quark can see opportunities standing in front of him. At least Quark, knows what is a good thing to go after. So, but of course, Worf is not hearing anything she says. And even if he is, he's not correlating that to the possibility that she's attracted to him. So anyway, in the end, the poor girl, what does she do to finally get Worf's attention? She's got to jump in his face and challenge him to a fight, because that's how they do with Klingons. Sometimes you got to fight for what you want. You have to fight to let people know that you are attracted to them and that you want to be with them. I mean, and they actually get into a fight. So they're throwing each other around and she's choking him, he's choking her, because that's how they do with Klingons when they Klingons do that kind of thing when they're attracted to each other. The next thing you know, they're in Dr. Bashir's hospital. And of course, they're at sick bay. He sees them all bandaged, broken up and face all scratched up and hair all messed up. And of course, he doesn't want to know anything about what's going on, but he has an idea. So what we learn from here, they finally get together. And it's like, this episode is just hilarious. It's one of those really fun-loving episodes. But it has a really good meaning, though, because isn't that how life is sometimes? People are attracted to people that they think, like I have been saying, that, this is a great person to be with. This is somebody that, just captures everything that I want in a person. But that may not be so. It could be that person that's always been there by your side, that's always talking with you, and that is always encouraging you and is always cheering you on in life, and you're not paying them any attention. Because sometimes we look at people like that as like, a brother or sister, or whatever like that. We don't really look at them in terms of a relationship. But in terms of the type of characteristics that we will want in someone, hey, they will make the best person to be in a relationship with. But sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes we're attracted to people because of, how they look and how they dress, how they act, their popularity. And then the people who may not look that way or dress that way or be that popular, we don't give them, too much attention when it comes to something like pursuing a relationship. But that just goes to show that, if you know that you and someone could really do good together, you may be kind of shy about approaching that person, you may be kind of timid, but hey, you have to just think about Jadzia, and just get out there and just get in that person's face and say, hello, I'm here, you want a relationship? Hey, I'm the best person for you, and try to see what happens, because sometimes people need to be shaken up and smacked around in order to realize that, they're about to go off with someone that's really going to hurt them, is not really going to love them, and miss out on a great opportunity to be loved and to be adored. Okay. So, hey, in the spirit of Jadzia, I say to all the women and men out there, if you know that someone is right for you, if you know that you and someone could be in a good relationship and they're not paying you attention, sometimes you have people that they may be attracted to you, but they might think that you're not attracted to them. They may think that you will have no time for them or you wouldn't be interested in them. Maybe, because you love Star Trek, there's someone out there who loves Star Wars that will really want to get with you and they could tolerate your Star Trek, but they think that you won't have any contact with them and don't want to, look at them in that manner because you don't love the same fandom, but whatever. Okay. You don't let that stop you. You still get out there and you make yourself known to that person that you know that you have been wanting to be with for a long time, and you've been wanting to get to know better, and you've been wanting to hang out with. So do not be afraid to let someone know, hey, I'm interested. Okay, I'm interested. I think we have, a good, flow here. I think we have a lot in common. And the things that we don't have in common, I think would only, make our relationship even more exciting. I think it'll be like, something that we can learn from one another and something that can help us grow to appreciate the idiosyncrasies that we have and, those type of elements of our character that may be different from ourselves, but hey, it can, bring excitement to the relationship. Okay. So that is a lesson that I pick up from looking for Parmark in all the wrong places, is that you just have to sometimes, you can't be passive. Sometimes you just really have to be a little bit more, you know, stronger, okay, and aggressive. Not too aggressive, not like Klingon aggressive, but if that's what it takes, then you go for it. But there's sometimes you need to be a little bit more aggressive and just come out and be the first person. And in this day and age, it's not really about the guy asking out the girl first or whatever like that. Some people just go for it. Doesn't matter, whatever the gender, it doesn't matter, whatever the identity. If this is what you want, you go for it. You don't wait to say, okay, well, that person should ask me first because that's the way it's normally done. No, normal has gone out the window. There's all kind of unconventional relationships and all kind of unconventional partnerships. So it's really about just doing what you feel in your heart you want to do, that's going to bring you and that person a whole lot of joy, even if that person doesn't realize it. Okay, so that was our top 5 DS9 love episodes for the month of Valentine's. And I hope you all had a wonderful Valentine's. Even if you were single, I hope you took yourself out. I hope you took yourself to the movies, to a really great play, bought yourself something nice, splurged on yourself, whatever. Love on yourself, because when you can love yourself, all right, then you know how to love somebody else. If you can't love on yourself, you don't need to be in a relationship until you learn how to love yourself, okay? And then you'll be able to love somebody else. And love is a great and amazing thing. And there's so much to love. For Valentine's, there's so much that you can love on your family, your partner, your lovers, your fandom, your church, your, whatever religion you're part of, do extra for the month of Valentine's, go to services more or volunteer more, love on your community, help out in the community garden, whatever. There's all kind of ways to express love during the month of Valentine's. And I hope you all had a wonderful Valentine's, and remember to live your best life. Okay, we'll see you soon with our next discussion and upcoming guests. And we have a lot of wonderful things that we're going to be doing this year. So please stay subscribed, tell your friends all about us, and we'll see you soon. Have a blessed day.